Alphonse jumped in front of me just in time, as half of a silver sword was suddenly sticking out of his back. I stared at it, having no choice being only inches away, with the dark blood of a master dripping off the end pointed directly between my eyes. And then I was backing up, and Alphonse was pulling the sword out with a growl and attempting to stick it into the Fae who had tried to skewer me. Only I wasn't sure which one that was, as there were suddenly a lot of them. Alphonse's new sword rang on no less than 3 others, and there were plenty more muscling into the room behind him. It felt like another tide was swamping us, this one made out of flesh. Alphonse was shoving me toward the rear exit while slashing at whoever tried to get behind him. But the door I'd glimpsed earlier was blocked by a bunch of what looked like beer barrels. They were full and heavy, but I was motivated and started shoving them aside to make an exit. And nobody got past Alphonse, possibly because Pritkin, Rozier, and the kitchen maid Enid were lighting up our attackers. The invading horde found themselves met by a barrage of spells that it didn't look like they'd expected, as some of them hadn't even had shields up when they came in. And when you're dealing with the kind of magic that Pritkin was able to put out, that was ill-advised, as demonstrated when one of them went up like a Roman candle, burning to death inside his expensive suit of armor. Within seconds, liquid fat was gushing out of the joints. The acrid smell of burning meat filled the air, and shields bloomed everywhere. And I moved the last barrel, grunting in effort before turning around to yell at the others and tell them to fall back. Fall back and let's get out of here. Only I didn't get the chance. I was abruptly shoved against the still-closed door by the blue surface of a ward, hard as glass, which had pushed past my defender and pinned me to the wall like a bug on a pin. It barely gave me a chance to breathe, much less to get the damned thing behind me open. "Get out!" Alphonse yelled as I was squeezed so tightly by the ward that fighting was impossible. "Shift! Shift!" Yeah, only I couldn't right now. But I had no way to explain that to him, as I also couldn't drag in enough air to speak. Just as he couldn't reach me past the shield between us, which the Fae who had cast it was now walking through because it was his shield. It didn't bind him. He had a naked sword in his hand, and I was unable to move or even turn my head enough to get a good look at the guy who was about to kill me. Desperate, I tried the first spell I'd ever mastered back when I was at Tony's. It drew on my magic, not the Pythian variety, and it still worked. A rune floated up into the air, almost in the Fae's face, causing him to grab at it as if it was a tangible thing. And at the same moment, a burst of strength hit me, flooding down my arms to my fingertips and making me feel like I could run 2 marathons back to back. And I had better, because when its effects wore off, I would be out of it for days, as the spell concentrated every bit of energy I had into one short-lived burst.